We've had the opportunity over the last little while to be able to feature the beginnings of the Mercedes-AMG relationship with the W202 C-Class. We then did the W203, and in front of you here, we've got the W204. It's one of the most popular AMG vehicles because it is affordable to the casual enthusiast today, and they still look great and perform just as well as the new ones. Our spotlight is on this 2011 Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG. We're going to be going over everything with this car, showing you all the features, taking it for a drive, and going over what you need to know if you're in the market for the W204 Mercedes-Benz AMG.
Earlier this year, TestDrive featured the 2013 Mercedes-Benz C300, which is a facelift version of the W204. So if you're curious to see what the difference is between these models, you can check out that full tour and review. The C63 AMG is a true performance car through and through, said to be the first true AMG vehicle developed from the ground up. Unlike previous AMG vehicles we featured, including the W204's predecessor, this vehicle's M156 V8 engine was designed exclusively for AMG vehicles, whereas the supercharged V6 from the previous generation was built from the already existing M112 E32 V6, which was used in the S320, E320, CLK320, SLK320, ML320, and the Chrysler Crossfire. The exterior styling is more aggressive than its non-AMG stablemates, with flared fenders that give way to the wider tires and larger braking systems. This is a pre-facelift model. We find round fog lights at the bottom of the front bumper and a slightly different rear end. Parktronic parking sensors were optioned on this car. Moving inside, we find the white leather interior with deep bolstered AMG sport seats. As a big dude, they aren't designed for me, but those who are in shape will find that they hug around and keep you in place when driving the way this car was meant to be driven. The driver's door features 3 memory settings, seat and window controls, along with the power folding mirror button up top. The doors are finished with stitched leather. Below we find the trunk release, along with the Harman Kardon audio speakers. To the left of the steering wheel, on the dash, are the automatic headlights, parking lights, and front and rear fog light buttons. Parking brake release is below. The cluster is relatively simple for a performance car, only displaying coolant temperature along with a gas gauge, speedometer, and tachometer. The center console is one interior element that dates this car more than it should. The media and telephone buttons look and feel cheap. Up top we find the hazard button with the sport handling button, which severely limits the electronic stability program, followed by the radio and telephone controls. Heated seat buttons are on either side, with the rear sunshade and Parktronic in the center of the bottom. The C63 has dual-zone automatic climate control with unified fan speed and direction. The mono button synchronizes the temperature on both sides to the driver's setting. The steering wheel features flappy paddles along with media and cluster computer controls. The center is straightforward with 2 cup holders and controls for command. Oh, did I mention that this car comes with command navigation? Easily the coolest way to turn on your navigation system on a car that we featured. Located just above the hidden screen is the Parktronic sensor indicator. The passenger has the glove box in front of them, along with window and seat controls along their door. As you can see, the C63 is the perfect family car, being able to fit a car seat or 2 without any trouble. But we don't have any babies with us today, because we're going to push this Mercedes a little to see what 6.2 liters of AMG V8 power feels like. But let's stop for gas before we head out.
Alright, so this is the first time I'm driving one of the 6.3 motors here from Mercedes-Benz, and I've had a lot of complaints with people before where I don't push the AMGs to their limit. So speed limit here is 90, so we're doing about 50, so let's see full throttle. Holy! And just like that, almost at the limit of 90. We're doing 90 if the SQ's watching. Wow, that's like an incredible amount of speed right there, and you would expect that. Obviously, it's a V8, like a naturally aspirated V8. That thing just pulled. You saw, it took a second for it to shift, and then I just went right into the back of these bucket seats, and it was like instant. Holy! So there you go. That's why you want to buy one of these cars. That's why we talked about it in the introduction. that these are some of the most popular AMG models on the market because they're affordable. The W205s come out and a lot of people like the design, but there's a lot of people that dislike the new design language Mercedes has been going with. So you can get a C63 AMG with the V8 engine and all this power for a lot less than you could if you were to buy a new one. So these are really becoming affordable for the everyday enthusiast, and for the most part, they're well maintained. The engines are built well enough that you don't have to have too many issues, and if you get one like a 2011, the engines seem to be a little bit more reliable than the earlier 6.3s for the W204. And then if you were to find a 2012, the facelift model, so the front ends change a little bit and the backs change a little bit. But overall, you're getting an incredible amount of value out of a car that's only 5 or 6 years old, depending on what year you're getting. Now, we're not on a race course here, so can't really talk about things like performance going around corners, but you know, the car feels very, very stiff, which you would want from a car like this. Taking the little corners here and there, like the steering is very stiff, and also the ride as well. A lot of people ask how the ride quality is on a lot of cars like this, and it is a lot stiffer than you would find on your like the C300 that we did a little while ago back in February. You know, it's just the regular version of this car. You can see there just a little bit of gas and it's ready to go, because we did that first rip there in comfort mode. So now we're in sport mode. So now this car is actually really ready to go. So it's remapped the transmission to give you a little bit quicker response and more track oriented. So we're going to go around the corner here, make sure it's safe and also clear, because unlike a lot of the cars that we feature where, you know, you can go be in traffic for the most part and give it a little go and we're able to catch up to traffic, you really do need a lot of runway, because if there's somebody maybe 500 meters ahead of you, you're going to catch up to them very quick. You're not going to have a lot of space in order to do that rip. So let's see here. And again, we're just like already at the limit of what I should be legally doing here, and we've caught up with our little friend Kia Sorento in front of us here, and he was quite ahead of us before. Now we're pretty close. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 car lengths. So yeah, this car pulls, and especially when you throw it into sport mode. You have flappy paddles up here too if you want to play with those. I usually don't when we're doing these test drives, because we're not on a track, right? I'm going in a straight line, so there's no use for me to be able to shift up and down on the go, but you have that option if you wanted to. So you're able to go pretty quick, and I gotta say, it is blistering speed compared to what I was sort of expecting. I knew it was going to be quick, but I think it's a lot quicker than I thought it was. And really, with a car this small, it's not like it's tiny, but it's certainly not like an S-Class. It's got a lot of power that you can put to those rear wheels. It's pretty intense. You got to drive this car to actually understand it, because I think you can read all about it, you can watch videos, you can watch this video and see what we're doing with it, but you got to drive this car to truly understand what it means to have a 6.2 liter engine underneath the hood. And I think this is going to be certainly a future classic when people start looking at the older Mercedes 15, 20 years from now. I think the W203 and the W204 are going to be the two that are really going to skyrocket in value. W205, probably not so much. So if you get your hands on one now, even though they're still in the $30,000, $40,000 price range, you might find out in 15, 20 years that price is going to go up to the ceiling.
The owner of this C63 AMG has had it for about 2 years and has done 2 oil changes and gone through a set of tires. Now, he also takes this car to the track pretty often during the summer months, so those tires get eaten through quicker than most, but you'll end up eating through them anyway. The fuel consumption is also relatively reasonable, around 10 to 12 liters per 100 kilometers, with a good portion of that being on the highway, but it is comparable to our E38 7 Series, which is just under 11. Early 2011 and older models do suffer from a head bolt issue, which isn't really covered by Mercedes, especially at this point. By now, any of the affected cars should have already been fixed, but you could find yourself in trouble if you don't have a detailed repair history on the vehicle you're looking at. Resources like mbworld.org have a dedicated post in the W204 forum for this exact problem. These aren't overly complicated cars or engines, so it is possible to work on them on your own if you know what you're doing. Since the W204 is still pretty new and one of their most popular Mercedes models sold in recent years, finding parts won't be that hard. There are tons of forums, groups, and communities out there around these cars, and for the most part, we didn't find a lot to worry about with the W204 C63 AMG outside of regular maintenance. Now, I can't predict the future, but the way global emissions regulations are going, the W204 is likely going to be the last naturally aspirated V8 AMG we'll be seeing, especially for the C-Class, but could be for any future Mercedes AMG product. While the twin-turbo is cool to brag about, there is something special about having a naturally aspirated engine these days. They're quickly becoming a minority in the new car market. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2011 Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG. As always, your support helps make this show possible, so please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and share your thoughts about this car in the comments below. We invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so already, as it helps us track our growth and performance as we build our audience. Head over to perpetualradio.ca for the written review for this vehicle, along with other information about Test Drive. Until next time, take care.